What up, guys? It's your boy Quake, and I'm back with another video on an artist who forever changed the music industry, and this guy is definitely a legend. I talked about Master P in one of the previous videos, and we jumped further back in the mid-1990s, but this one's going way back, and I mean we're going way back to the infant stages of hip-hop. And around this time in the beginning, a lot of people did not know about hip-hop. They didn't know what it was about. There was positive music, there was negative music, and the mainstream just tried to shut hip-hop down in any way that they can or they could at the time. So this artist had a major influence in making sure that every artist had a right to say what they wanted to say in their music. So as you can tell by the video title, I'm clearly talking about Uncle Luke, or better known as Luke Skywalker, or just simply Luke. Also, his real name, Luther Campbell. He goes by a few names and he's changed them over time, but a lot of people know him more as Uncle Luke because he's sort of become a father to hip-hop. Now, there's a few major things he's done that have not only changed hip-hop, but just the music industry as a whole. If it wasn't for these things, a lot of artists would not be able to say the things that they want to say, and they wouldn't be able to sell certain music. So he was instrumental in helping every single genre of music. So that's the beautiful thing about hip hop, is it's also helped every other genre depending on who did what and what was going on at the time. So hip hop has not only helped the youth, but it's also spread to different cultures, help people get together more, less racism and hate because of hip hop. I believe so, at least. It's also gave the white suburban communities a better look into what poverty is like for certain people and what they go through daily. So not only has it helped other genres, it's just helped more people be more aware of a bunch of things going on in life, and for people to come closer together and not be hateful towards each other. So let's get into the major things that Uncle Luke has done that forever changed the music industry.
I mean, of all the things, I mean, going to jail for the music, you know, going to jail, you know, it was you
went to jail because of the lyrics, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was what it was. It was at that time. It was an attack on hip hop. Okay. Because you had typical Al Gore wife. You know, she had created this list, put me, Ice-T, NWA, and all kind of different artists on that list, along with a bunch of other rock and roll artists, and you know, they wanted to basically get rid of hip-hop.
So the first major thing that Uncle Luke did that forever changed the industry was that he decided to create his first independent label for artists in Miami, because he used to live in Miami and he still does to this day. And he looked around and found a bunch of talent in Miami, and he knew that a lot of the music scene was mostly in New York. So in order to get their music out there, he decided, hey, I'm gonna create an independent label called Luke Records, and basically help these artists out in Miami and help them blow up and get their music discovered. Because previously, before this, he was a club promoter, so he knew what was popping and what was, you know, working in the clubs. So he decided to, you know, create that label and helped a bunch of Miami artists get an outlet out for their music. You know, now there's a bunch of artists from Miami that have blown up. I mean, one of the major ones, he's not really an artist, but he's a composer, executive producer, is DJ Khaled. He's from Miami. Rick Ross, Pitbull, Trick Daddy, a bunch. There's a whole, I can't even name how many there is, but he was instrumental in making sure that Miami had a scene in hip-hop, and it was respected in hip-hop. And I give him a lot of props for this, because you have to remember, hip-hop was in its infant stages, and just starting a label and trying to push CDs independently is extremely hard, especially when it's in its infant stages. I mean, granted, there were artists later on in the 90s who started independent labels and who pushed CDs, but hip-hop was more established at that time, so it was easier to push your music. But you have to remember, when hip-hop was new, it was harder to get your music to the mainstream public, because that genre wasn't really accepted as much as other genres such as rock and roll.
I thought it was important to let people know that it wasn't no Southern hip-hop until I started way back then, and putting out the first hip-hop artists in the South, and like I say, going to jail and talking about Miami. You know, people come to Miami all the time, but they don't know the history. They don't know Miami looked like Atlanta at one point.
So the second major thing that Uncle Luke did that forever changed the music industry, and this changed it for everybody, not just for people in hip-hop, was that he decided to fight for his rights to speak what he wants to in his music and for his artists on his label. Now, for those that don't know, Uncle Luke was involved with the 2 Live crew at that time, and they were making really sexually explicit music. I mean, songs like Me So Horny, just records that were very vulgar and talking about what they wanted to do sexually to women or just exposing sexual body parts, whatever it was. They were very explicit in that. So obviously the white mainstream media was obviously attacking hip-hop, saying that it not only is it violent, because at the time, you have to remember, NWA was coming out and they were releasing records about shooting, killing, you know, things that were going on in their hoods. And then on top of that, you have Uncle Luke on the other side releasing very sexually explicit stuff with 2 Live crew. So of course hip-hop was just getting a bunch of shit, hate, and people just wanted to shut the whole genre down and hopefully shut it down for good. But Uncle Luke fought to keep the rights to say whatever you want in your music, and he went to court, special civil court, and fought the case and eventually won. Now granted, I bet you he had to spend thousands of dollars and possibly way more, because court cases are just out the ass, especially if you're fighting against labels or somebody who's trying to shut you down, people who have big corporations and stuff like that. So I'm sure Uncle Luke and the 2 Live crew lost a lot of money in this, fighting for everybody else's rights. So they eventually won that court case, and this made it so artists can say whatever they want in their music. This gave them freedom of speech, which they already technically had, but this gave it more of a leverage of the media not being able to attack them as much. So thankfully, like I said, if it wasn't for these artists right now, today's time, a lot of music probably would have been censored, and it would have made for bad music, because I believe in free speech, especially when it comes to music, because it's an art form that needs to be expressed, and whatever you want to talk about, it should be allowed to be talked about, unless it's obviously talking about something that you actually did, like murdering, killing somebody, and then recording actual footage of you killing somebody and saying it's a music video, some crazy shit like that. Obviously, I don't condone that, but free speech for art should be always allowed.
Just imagine you going to get ready to do a show and you got the police standing outside with guns and rifles, and you get ready to do a show, you got them on horses. They on top of the roof, cops in the building. You got to make a decision right then on the moment. Hey, look here, man, do I really believe in this? Am I really on this? Should I just get in the car and run? You feel me? And I was never on that. It was like, yo, I'm going to jail for this.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I believe in, and I'm going to jail. And eventually, at one point, you know, federal judge Gonzalez, and I talk about in the book, he deemed one of our albums obscene. And that was the most important case in the history of hip-hop.
Yeah.
You know, I could have laid down. I mean, once he said the song was obscene, the federal judge, I wasn't going to jail.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't about, you know, it wasn't a thing, oh, Luke need to fight this to go to jail. I was fighting at that point for hip-hop.
Exactly.
You know, because if I left that case law on the books, you know, any lawyer or any municipality would have been able to single out T.I. Oh, that's obscene. You know, because we already got case law.
Yeah.
You know, case law, Campbell versus the state of Florida.
Yeah.
You know, if you got any lyrics, lyrics remotely sounding like that, then they use that case law and then say, this is, you know, in this case law, this was the punishment, take it off the shelf. So at that point, I was like, nah, I ain't, no. I know this bigger than me, this bigger than rap. You know, if I don't fight this, Lil Wayne, you ain't singing the things you singing, Drake, you ain't singing what you singing, Meek, all the rest of these guys ain't singing what they're saying. MWA, y'all gonna have to shut it down too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you hip hop, for what you see right now, it would not be. You would not hear that kind of music if I just laid down.
So the third and final thing that Uncle Luke did, and this one is just amazing, and it's unfortunate, really. It's unfortunate because Uncle Luke didn't take advantage of this and didn't know what to do with this and didn't know how big this would be. So for those that don't know, Uncle Luke invented the parental advisory sticker. I know, that's fucking crazy. There wasn't a parental advisory sticker before hip-hop was even made. Yeah, he invented it. basically what happened was somebody from Kentucky, some family from Kentucky called at a record label and complained that their kid bought Uncle Luke's album and it was explicit and it was vulgar, whatever. He was talking about, sexual things, and they didn't want their kid listening to that, and they preferred a clean version. So what this did was it made record label stores remove 2 Live Crew CDs from the stores because they were too vulgar and explicit. So what Uncle Luke thought of doing was just creating a sticker to put on the album to separate each album, whether one's clean and one's dirty. So then you could tell the difference, because each CD that was coming out, you couldn't tell the difference if it was clean or was dirty, and they weren't really releasing clean CDs. They were just releasing explicit CDs because they expected mostly adults to listen to this type of music. They didn't assume young kids would even find this kind of music interesting, but we all know the youth runs hip-hop, so obviously the youth got to it, listened to it, and this caused him to invent that sticker. Now, the great thing about this is it separated albums. It made for albums to be in stores. Now explicit albums could be in stores. They could be sold because there was a sticker and it said, if you're not over 18, you can't purchase the album. He basically got the idea. He says this multiple times. He got the idea from movie theaters where they have that rated R rating and then they have PG-13. So he got that idea from that, took it, placed it on albums, and then anybody over 18 couldn't purchase the album. So this prevented little kids from buying the album. The great thing, that was amazing. That's a great thing. CDs could be in stores, but the bad thing was that he never patented it. He didn't trademark it. So, he could have been potentially a billionaire. I'm willing to say a billionaire. If he had to patent that and trademark that idea, which he even said at the time he didn't know it was going to be that big. He didn't know everyone would run off with it and use it for, labels will take it and put it on everybody's albums and stuff like that. So he never trademarked and patented it, and that just sucks, man. Living with that, knowing that that's your idea and just everybody's using it and you can't make a single penny off of it. This is why it's smart to, be educated in business, and this is why artists, learn from that. And now you got 50 Cent, Diddy, Jay-Z, whoever it is, patenting and trademarking their ideas and stuff like that. So, he invented that sticker. So every time you see that on an album, just think of Uncle Luke, man. Think of hip-hop, because if it wasn't for hip-hop and Uncle Luke, that wouldn't be there. Possibly explicit CDs wouldn't even be sold in stores. So, that's insane.
I have the perfect starting point and jump off point. Every CD in my collection has this little thing on it. It don't have that little thing on it. It has this little thing on it.
Yep.
That did not exist before you, sir.
No.
That sticker.
I actually created that in my, in the house. When we were doing the records out of the back seat of the car.
Wait, you did? I thought your content created the concept. You actually created the sticker?
No doubt. I took the idea from the movie industry. What I did was, quite a few parents from Alabama was calling me and saying the kids were getting the wrong version, the one that they were hearing on the radio. Mm-hmm. And, we just said, okay, we got to do something different. We took the sticker, put it on the albums, called all the retail stores around the country and said, hey, look, don't sell this one to the kids, sell that one to the adults.
So hopefully that gives you a better insight on who Uncle Luke is and what he's done for the music industry and what he's done for hip-hop. And hopefully you guys can look into him, find out about his music, find out about what he's done, check out interviews. That's what this series is about, just educating, the younger people. I'm young myself. I mean, when Uncle Luke was active, I wasn't even born. So I definitely appreciate these artists who came before the ones that are out right now. And you guys should also appreciate them, because if it wasn't for these guys fighting for the right to artists to say what they want, fighting for hip-hop, I believe hip-hop would have died out a long time ago, because the mainstream media was looking to shut it down instantly and in any way that they could. Lawsuits flying left and right, and just anything to shut it down they were trying to do. So thankfully Uncle Luke stood up, thankfully NWA stood up, and a bunch of other artists stood up and fought for the right to say what they wanted to say. So with all this being said, did you guys know who Uncle Luke is and was at the time? Did you guys know that he invented the parental advisory sticker? Did you know he's done all these things for hip-hop? If you haven't, leave a comment below as to why you haven't. Maybe you just weren't born at the time like me, or you just weren't looking into it or didn't know who he was because you're more focused on the newer generation. And if you did, what songs did you like from him? I mean, he's had quite a few great records here and there. I didn't like his solo career as much as, you know, what he did for 2 Live Crew. I felt like he was a better manager and promoter than he was an artist. Granted, they took that I Wanna Rock record and put it on French Montana's Pop That. So for those that don't know, that song got sampled from Uncle Luke. That French Montana popped that record with Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, and Drake. They used a sample from Uncle Luke's I Wanna Rock record. So obviously Uncle Luke is influential throughout all these years, and he's going to continue to be, and he's going to continue to live on forever, even after when he passes. The parental advisory sticker is here to stay forever. So with all that being said, I do see all the comments as well. I just want to let you guys know I do read most of the comments that I can read, and I will definitely be working on different artists and different videos. I see a bunch like E40. I've seen Pac. I've seen Do One on Ja Rule. I've seen a bunch. So I'm definitely working on them every chance that I get. So let me know what else you guys want to see. If there's newer suggestions or you guys want to see one earlier than the next one, I could possibly do that too. So leave a comment below, like, share, subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.